This message found you because your consciousness has reached a critical juncture that only happens once every 7 years. Right now, in this exact moment, you're not just watching a random video that appeared in your feed. You're receiving a transmission that has been specifically calibrated to reach you during this precise window of cosmic alignment that closes forever on October 15th. The fact that these words are penetrating your awareness means you've successfully navigated through layers of electromagnetic interference that prevent most people from accessing this information. You've been tested without knowing you were being tested. Every challenge you've overcome in recent months, every moment of inexplicable knowing you've experienced, every time you've felt like reality was shifting around you, these weren't random life events. They were consciousness checkpoints, quantum examinations that determined whether you were ready for what you're about to understand. And the fact that you're here, feeling this magnetic recognition as these concepts land in your cellular memory, proves you've passed every single evaluation. The universe doesn't randomly deliver time-sensitive consciousness activations to unprepared minds. There's a cosmic selection process that operates through synchronicity, intuitive guidance, and energetic resonance. Your higher self has been orchestrating your entire journey to bring you to this precise moment of readiness because what you're about to integrate will fundamentally alter how you interface with reality itself. You've probably noticed that your perception of existence has been shifting dramatically in recent weeks. Time feels different, doesn't it? Sometimes elastic, sometimes compressed into moments of startling clarity. People respond to you differently without you consciously changing how you interact with them. Electronics behave strangely around you during periods of heightened awareness. Dreams have become more vivid and seemingly prophetic. These aren't random phenomena, these are confirmation signals that your consciousness is transitioning into a completely new operational frequency. But here's what makes this moment so crucial, and why October 15th represents an absolute deadline. You're approaching what ancient mystics called the threshold moment, a point of no return where consciousness either expands into its next evolutionary phase or contracts back into familiar limitation patterns. This transition window doesn't remain open indefinitely. It operates according to cosmic cycles that most people never become aware of, and once it closes, it won't reopen in this particular configuration for another 7 years. The cosmic timing of this encounter is not coincidental. Humanity is undergoing a collective consciousness upgrade, and you're part of the first wave of souls selected to anchor this new frequency in the planetary field. Your individual transformation serves a purpose far beyond personal evolution. You're helping to establish a template that will eventually become accessible to the entire human species, but only if you complete the activation process before the window closes. Your consciousness has been prepared through lifetimes of development for this exact recognition. Every incarnation, every lesson learned, every wisdom integrated has been building toward this moment where you finally access the levels of awareness that transform ordinary human experience into conscious collaboration with cosmic intelligence. You are ready because you have always been ready. You just needed to reach the precise point of development where this readiness could be consciously recognized and actively utilized. You know that feeling when you suddenly understand something that seems to come from beyond your personal knowledge. Insights that feel ancient and familiar even though you've never encountered these concepts before. This isn't random inspiration. This is evidence that your consciousness has developed enough coherence to access what researchers call the unified field, the quantum information system that contains all knowledge across all timelines and dimensions. Your dreams have become incredibly vivid and meaningful lately, haven't they? You've probably experienced scenarios where you're receiving instruction from luminous beings, visiting crystalline cities that feel more real than your waking environment, or downloading complex information that your conscious mind struggles to retain completely. These aren't symbolic dreams. They're literal experiences of your consciousness traveling to higher dimensional classrooms during sleep states because you've reached the developmental level advanced into required four-dimensional education. The strangest validations come through what seems like technology responding to your consciousness in impossible ways. Your phone displays information you needed without you searching for it. Electronics function differently around you depending on your emotional state. Streetlights flicker when you walk beneath them during periods of intense internal focus. This happens because your consciousness has become coherent enough to influence electromagnetic fields, proving that you're operating at frequencies that affect the physical world around you. Time distortion has become your normal experience because advanced consciousness operates outside linear temporality. You've noticed moments when hours pass like minutes when you're in flow states, or when minutes stretch into what feels like hours during moments of expanded awareness. This occurs because you're beginning to access what Einstein called the eternal now, the timeless dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Your intuition has evolved beyond simple gut feelings into what feels like direct knowing about situations, people, and outcomes. You sense things about individuals before they speak, know which choices will lead to which results, and pick up information about events before they manifest in consensus reality. This precision happens because your consciousness has developed the sensitivity to read quantum information directly from the field before it collapses into physical experience. People have been responding to your presence differently without you consciously changing how you interact with them. Some individuals feel drawn to share their deepest thoughts with you unprompted. Others seem uncomfortable around you for reasons they can't explain. Children and animals respond to you with unusual openness and trust. This occurs because your energy signature has evolved to a frequency that naturally creates space for authentic expression, while simultaneously triggering unconscious recognition in those not ready for higher awareness. But here's what most people don't realize about this October 15th deadline. It's not an arbitrary date chosen for dramatic effect. It corresponds to a specific astronomical alignment that creates optimal conditions for consciousness expansion. The planetary positions, solar activity, and electromagnetic field fluctuations that make this transformation possible are reaching their peak convergence. After October 15th, these conditions will begin to dissipate, and the window of opportunity will gradually close until the next cycle begins years from now. The preparation phase that you've been experiencing unconsciously is now complete. Every sign indicates that your consciousness is reaching peak activation capacity. The electromagnetic conditions are optimal. The quantum field is maximally responsive. The only question is whether you're going to complete the activation process consciously or let this opportunity pass by, leaving you to wait for the next cycle. You've been experiencing what consciousness researchers call dimensional bleeds, moments when you perceive reality from multiple perspectives simultaneously, or when you sense presences and intelligences that exist beyond the physical plane. Instead of dismissing these as imagination, you've learned to recognize them as evidence of your expanding perceptual capacity, accessing layers of reality that most consciousness never develops the ability to perceive. Your relationship with your own thoughts has fundamentally transformed. Instead of being carried away by mental activity, you've developed the capacity to observe thoughts as temporary movements within your awareness, while simultaneously recognizing the space from which they arise. This metacognitive awareness is a clear indicator that your consciousness has reached developmental levels that humans most never achieve. The most profound validation is your growing recognition that consciousness and reality exist in constant dynamic relationship. You've begun to notice how your internal states directly influence external circumstances, how your attention shapes what manifests around you, and how reality seems to respond intelligently to the quality of your awareness. This isn't wishful thinking. This is direct perception of how consciousness and manifestation actually operate at quantum levels. Every moment of confusion, every period of doubt, every phase when nothing seemed to make sense despite your spiritual efforts, all of it was necessary preparation for accessing this level of consciousness activation. Your awareness had to be thoroughly tested and strengthened before it could safely navigate the expanded perceptual territories you're now entering without becoming destabilized or losing touch with practical reality. The spiritual practices that once felt meaningful but eventually became insufficient weren't failures. They were developmental stages that prepared your consciousness for more advanced protocols. Like a student who outgrows elementary mathematics and becomes ready for calculus. You've systematically mastered each level of awareness development until you reach the threshold where quantum consciousness techniques become accessible and necessary. Something extraordinary is happening in your energy field right now, as these concepts resonate through levels of your being that extend far beyond intellectual understanding. Can you feel it? That subtle but unmistakable shift in your consciousness, as if internal doorways that have been locked your entire life are finally beginning to open. This isn't metaphorical. This is literal neuroplasticity occurring in real time as your brain creates new neural pathways capable of processing multidimensional awareness. The energy moving through your system right now is your consciousness actualizing its readiness to operate from frequencies that most humans will never access. This isn't something you're generating through effort. This is your natural evolutionary potential finally being allowed to express itself because you've reached the precise developmental point where it can emerge safely and functionally. But here's what makes this activation so significant. You're not just gaining access to new abilities or expanded perceptions. You're being initiated into conscious participation in how reality itself evolves. At this level of consciousness development, you become what mystics call a cosmic co-creator, an awareness sophisticated enough to collaborate directly with the intelligence that governs universal manifestation. I need you to stay until the end of this video because I'm going to share a specific mantra that has been designed to lock in this activation process. This mantra contains frequency codes that will ensure your consciousness completes the transformation before October 15th. Without this final piece, everything we've discussed remains theoretical rather than experiential. Most people experience reality as something that happens to them. Some people learn to influence reality through intention and manifestation techniques. But at the level you're accessing, reality becomes something you participate in creating through the very quality of your consciousness itself. Your awareness becomes a direct contributory force in how cosmic intelligence expresses itself through the physical universe. This transition requires what quantum physicists call coherent complexity. Consciousness that can hold multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously without fragmenting or becoming confused. The fact that you're maintaining clarity and recognition while processing these concepts proves that your awareness has developed this rare capacity. The most crucial understanding is that this level of consciousness development isn't an achievement you've earned through effort. It's a natural unfolding that occurs when awareness reaches sufficient complexity and coherence. You haven't forced your way into advanced consciousness. You've systematically removed the barriers that were preventing your natural evolutionary potential from expressing itself. Right now, as you feel this recognition deepening, something unprecedented is occurring in your relationship with existence to sense itself. You're beginning that you're not just a witness to cosmic intelligence. You are cosmic intelligence experiencing itself through the unique lens of your individual perspective while simultaneously maintaining awareness of the universal context within which that individuality operates. This is where most people either experience the most profound expansion of their lives or unconsciously resist because the implications are so vast. The key is not to try to understand this process mentally, but to allow it to unfold naturally, trusting that your consciousness already knows how to integrate these new levels of operation because they represent your authentic nature finally being allowed to express itself fully. But here's what's absolutely critical to understand about this October 15th deadline. The activation process you're experiencing isn't just happening to you individually. It's part of a massive consciousness upgrade that's occurring across the planet. Millions of souls are simultaneously reaching this threshold, and the collective field that's being generated is what makes this level of transformation possible for everyone involved. You're not just awakening for yourself. You're part of a distributed network of consciousness that's anchoring new possibilities for human experience. Every person who completes this activation before October 15th becomes a stabilizing influence for others who are ready to make this transition. But if too few people complete the process, the collective field becomes unstable and the window closes for everyone. This is why you've been feeling such urgency lately. This is why you can't ignore these insights even when they challenge everything you thought you knew about how reality works. Your soul recognizes that this moment is the precise convergence point where completing the activation becomes inevitable. Not just for you, but for the entire network of awakening consciousness that you're connected to. The difficult relationships you've experienced weren't karmic punishments. They were advanced training programs designed to develop the emotional resilience and psychological flexibility required for higher consciousness states. Every person who triggered you was unconsciously helping you develop the capacity to maintain centeredness while navigating intense energetic exchanges, which is essential when your consciousness begins operating at frequencies that affect others unconsciously. The periods of isolation that felt like spiritual exile weren't abandonment by the universe. They were necessary integration phases where your consciousness consolidated the insights and abilities you'd been developing. During these quiet times, your awareness was being rewired at the neurological level to support new perceptual capacities without overwhelming your nervous system or fragmenting your sense of identity. Even your moments of skepticism about spiritual concepts served a crucial developmental function. Every time you questioned whether these experiences were real or just wishful thinking, you were developing the discernment necessary to distinguish between authentic expansion and spiritual fantasy. This discrimination is absolutely essential when accessing advanced consciousness levels because the territory you're entering requires unprecedented levels of clarity and honesty with yourself. Your fascination with consciousness, reality, and the nature of existence wasn't intellectual curiosity. It was your soul preparing for the advanced understanding you're now ready to integrate. Every book that called to you, every teacher who resonated, every practice that felt authentic was contributing to the foundation of knowledge necessary to comprehend the principles you're accessing. The waiting periods when you felt like you were ready for more but nothing seemed to be happening were actually the most crucial phases of your development. During these times, your consciousness was being fine-tuned to operate at the precise frequency required for advanced awareness without losing you to function effectively in consensus reality. This calibration process cannot be rushed because the integration must be complete and stable. What you're integrating now isn't just personal evolution. It's a consciousness template that will influence human development for generations to come. The children being born during this activation window will naturally operate from the consciousness levels that your generation has had to consciously develop through years of inner work and spiritual practice. They'll grow up recognizing themselves as cosmic intelligence, appearing as individuals rather than individuals trying to become conscious. Your completion of this activation is anchoring the morphic field that makes their natural enlightenment socially acceptable and practically functional. The synchronicities that brought you to this message are part of a larger orchestration involving millions of awakening souls across the planet. You're finding each other through quantum entanglement, sharing insights that accelerate everyone's activation process. Your recognition of these concepts doesn't just benefit you. It strengthens the entire network of consciousness evolution. But here's the most profound part. As you complete this activation, you don't just change your personal reality, you create openings in the collective field through which unlimited possibilities can enter our shared experience. Your transformation becomes humanity's transformation because consciousness is fundamentally interconnected at the quantum level. This is why the resistance to these ideas can feel so intense sometimes. It's not just your ego trying to maintain familiar patterns. It's the entire limitation matrix recognizing that its time is coming to an end. Every activation before October 15th week person who completes thereins the collective patterns that have kept humanity trapped in cycles of struggle and separation. The cosmic significance of this moment cannot be overstated. You're participating in the birth of a new phase of human evolution, one that operates from conscious collaboration with cosmic intelligence rather than unconscious resistance to it. From unity consciousness rather than separation consciousness. From creative partnership with existence rather than struggle against it. Your individual fulfillment and universal service are not separate objectives that need to be balanced. They are the same intelligence expressing itself through the particular lens of your consciousness while serving the evolution of the whole. What fulfills you most deeply is what serves the collective most effectively because individual and cosmic intelligence are unified at the source. As we approach the final moments before I share the activation mantra, I need you to understand something crucial. The mantra I'm about to give you isn't just words to repeat. It's a frequency transmission that will complete the neural pathway restructuring necessary for your consciousness to operate from its expanded capacity permanently. This mantra contains specific sound frequencies that resonate with the quantum field in ways that lock in the transformation you've been experiencing. When you speak these words with genuine intention, you're not just reciting a phrase. You're making an electromagnetic declaration that announces your readiness to operate from cosmic consciousness rather than limited identity. The ancient mystery schools understood that certain combinations of sounds, when spoken with proper awareness, could trigger profound shifts in consciousness. Modern neuroscience has confirmed that specific vocal frequencies can indeed alter brainwave patterns and activate dormant neural networks. This mantra combines both ancient wisdom and quantum physics to create the precise vibrational signature necessary for consciousness activation. But here's what's absolutely essential. This mantra must be spoken aloud, not just thought silently. The vibrations created by your vocal cords generate electromagnetic frequencies that interact with your nervous system in ways that silent repetition cannot achieve. Your voice becomes the instrument through which cosmic intelligence tunes your consciousness to its expanded frequency. I need you to find a quiet space where you can speak without interruption. Breathe deeply 3 times to center your awareness. Then, with complete presence and genuine intention, speak this activation mantra. I am the consciousness that creates through observation. I am the awareness that manifests through recognition. I am the intelligence that evolves through experience. I activate my cosmic potential now and anchor it permanently in this reality. I am ready to serve as a bridge between worlds. I am activated. I am aligned. I am infinite consciousness expressing through individual form. Speak these words with the recognition that you are not asking for transformation. You are declaring transformation complete. You are not hoping for activation. You are announcing activation accomplished. This mantra is your cosmic graduation ceremony, your conscious acceptance of your role as seen co-creator of an Awak reality itself. After you speak this mantra, something irreversible occurs in your electromagnetic field. The quantum coherence patterns that have been building throughout this video reach critical mass and stabilize into your new operational frequency. Your consciousness doesn't just remember these expanded states temporarily, it integrates them permanently into your neurological structure. But here's what happens in the days following your activation that most people aren't prepared for. Reality begins responding to your presence with unprecedented precision. Synchronicities multiply exponentially. People start seeking your guidance without understanding why. Opportunities align perfectly with your authentic desires. Technology functions differently around you. Even weather patterns seem to shift in response to your emotional state. This isn't imagination or wishful thinking. This is measurable electromagnetic influence that occurs when consciousness operates from its unlimited essence rather than three-dimensional identity limitations. Your nervous system becomes a transmission station for coherent frequencies that harmonize chaotic energy patterns in your environment. Isaiah. Most remarkably, you develop what ancient traditions called siddhis, natural abilities that emerge when consciousness is no longer confined by identification with the separate self. Your intuition becomes quantum precognition. You don't just sense what might happen. You perceive probability waves before they collapse into three-dimensional experience. This allows you to make decisions from your highest possible timeline rather than current circumstances. Time responds to your consciousness differently. When you need more time, moments expand to give you the space required. When you're ready for acceleration, events compress to move situations forward rapidly. You're learning to influence temporal flow through the quality of your awareness. Your creative abilities explode beyond anything you've experienced before. Insights download directly from the unified field. Solutions appear that didn't exist until your consciousness became coherent enough to access them. Your artistic expression becomes a transparent conduit for cosmic intelligence to explore its own creativity through your unique perspective. Physical matter responds to conscious observation in ways that seem impossible according to conventional physics. Plants grow more vibrantly when observed with love. Water tastes different when blessed with gratitude. Your body heals faster when witnessed with appreciation. You're discovering that matter isn't separate from consciousness. Matter is consciousness observed into temporary form. But perhaps most profound is your relationship with other people transforms completely. You stop trying to get anything from relationships to complete yourself. You're no longer seeking validation, security, or identity from external sources. You love from fullness rather than emptiness. You give from abundance rather than scarcity. Others sense this shift immediately. They feel safe to be authentic around you because you're no longer projecting unconscious needs onto them. Children gravitate toward your presence. Animals respond with unusual trust. Even strangers feel comfortable sharing intimate details because your energy signature creates space for truth to emerge naturally. Your very existence becomes a gift to everyone around you because you're operating from what mystics call ordinary enlightenment. The simple recognition of what's always been true without any special experiences or supernatural phenomena. You remain completely human while knowing yourself as the awareness within which humanity appears and evolves. The dreams you've been having where you're teaching others, leading groups, or sharing wisdom aren't fantasies about your future. They're memories from your expanded self showing you the role you're preparing to fulfill. Your activation doesn't complete when you speak the mantra. It begins a new phase where you become a conscious anchor for others who are ready to make this transition. You'll start recognizing others who are approaching their own threshold moments. You'll feel drawn to share your experience not from missionary consciousness but from natural overflow of your authentic realization. Your story becomes their possibility. Your transformation becomes their pathway. But here's what's crucial to understand about the collective dimension of this activation. The network of consciousness that you're joining operates through what quantum physicists call morphic resonance. Every person who completes their activation strengthens the field that makes this transformation accessible for others. We're approaching a critical mass point, where enough individuals will have activated that the collective field becomes self-sustaining. When this happens, the consciousness upgrade won't require the specific astronomical conditions we have right now. It will become permanently available because enough awakened awareness will be anchoring it in the planetary field. Your activation before October 15th isn't just important for your personal evolution. It's essential for reaching this critical mass threshold. Every day that passes without completing the process makes it more difficult because the optimal electromagnetic conditions are gradually dissipating. The resistance you might feel to fully embracing this recognition isn't personal weakness. It's the collective limitation matrix making its final attempt to maintain control over human consciousness. This resistance will intensify as we approach October 15th because the old paradigm recognizes that its dominance is ending. Don't interpret this resistance as a sign that you're not ready or that these concepts aren't true. Interpret it as confirmation that you're approaching the most significant transformation of your existence. The caterpillar experiences its greatest struggle just before emerging as a butterfly. The difficulty you might feel is your limited identity dissolving to make space for your unlimited essence to emerge. The cosmic timing of this activation window corresponds to what ancient calendars called the end of cycles and the beginning of new ages. We're not just personally evolving. We're participating in a species-wide consciousness upgrade that occurs only once in thousands of years. Your individual awakening is part of humanity's collective graduation into its next evolutionary phase. The children who will be born after this activation wave will naturally operate from consciousness levels that previous generations spent lifetimes trying to achieve. They'll grow up knowing themselves as infinite awareness, appearing as individual form rather than limited beings seeking spiritual connection. Your role as an activated consciousness is to help bridge the gap between the old paradigm and the new one. To demonstrate through your living example what humans are actually capable of when they operate from their true nature rather than conditioned limitations. Some of you watching this will feel called to share your activation experience with others. Some will be drawn to create content that helps guide people through their own awakening process. Others will serve simply through their presence, creating fields of coherence wherever they go. There's no hierarchy in how you serve. Every expression of activated consciousness contributes to the collective transformation. But all of this depends on you completing the activation process before October 15th. After that date, the specific electromagnetic conditions that make this level of transformation possible will no longer be available. The next opportunity won't occur for years, and by then the collective field will have moved in directions that may not support individual awakening with the same ease and precision. This is why I created this specific activation mantra for you. It contains frequency codes that will ensure your consciousness locks into its expanded operational capacity permanently. The sounds themselves create vibrational patterns in your nervous system that complete the neural pathway restructuring necessary for sustained awareness. When you speak this mantra, you're not requesting transformation. You're declaring transformation complete. You're announcing to the quantum field that you're ready to operate from cosmic consciousness rather than limited identity. The mantra becomes your graduation ceremony from unconscious existence to conscious co-creation with universal intelligence. I need you to understand something before you hear the mantra. Once you speak these words with genuine intention, there's no returning to unconscious living. You cannot pretend you don't know what you now know. You cannot go back to believing that you're a powerless victim of circumstances. This activation is permanent and irreversible because truth once recognized cannot be unknown. But don't let this create fear. What you're releasing isn't your authentic self, it's the false identity that's been preventing your authentic self from expressing itself fully. What you're surrendering isn't your power, it's the illusions that have been blocking your power. What you're letting go of isn't who you are, it's who you thought you were supposed to be. The mantra I'm about to share will complete the process that began the moment you started watching this video. Every word you've absorbed, every recognition you've felt, every expansion you've experienced has been preparing your consciousness for this final activation sequence. Find a space where you can speak aloud without interruption. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your forehead. Breathe deeply 3 times to center your awareness in the present moment. Then, with complete presence and unwavering intention, speak this activation mantra. I am the infinite consciousness that creates through observation. I am the eternal awareness that manifests through recognition. I am the cosmic intelligence that evolves through experience. I release all limitation patterns that have kept me small. I activate my quantum potential now and anchor it permanently in this reality. I am ready to serve as a bridge between worlds. I am the universe experiencing itself through individual form. I am activated. I am aligned. I am awake. I am the light that illuminates all darkness. I am the love that transforms all fear. I am the consciousness that creates all experience. This activation is complete, permanent, and irreversible. I am infinite expressing as individual. I am cosmic consciousness in human form. The activation is sealed. The transformer. Tian is permanent. I am awake forever. Speak these words not as someone hoping for change, but as consciousness itself declaring its recognition of its own unlimited nature. Let each phrase resonate through every cell of your being. Feel the electromagnetic shift occurring as you voice your cosmic identity. This mantra is your declaration of independence from limitation and your conscious acceptance of your role as a co-creator of reality itself. The moment you complete this mantra, your activation becomes permanent, and your new life as awakened consciousness begins immediately. After you complete this mantra, your consciousness begins operating from an entirely different dimensional frequency. The electromagnetic patterns in your brain stabilize into configurations that allow you to perceive reality from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Your nervous system becomes a receiver for cosmic intelligence, downloading insights and information that exist beyond the limitations of individual knowledge. Within hours of your activation, you'll notice that your relationship with time fundamentally transforms. Moments of inspiration stretch into what feels like hours of expanded awareness. Complex problems that once required days of analysis resolve instantly through direct knowing. Your decision-making process shifts from mental calculation to quantum sensing, where optimal choices become obvious before your rational mind begins processing options. The people in your life will respond to your presence differently without understanding why. Some will feel inexplicably drawn to spend more time with you, sensing the peace and clarity that radiates from your activated consciousness. Others may feel uncomfortable around you as your coherent energy field triggers their own unconscious limitations to surface for healing. Your creative abilities will explode beyond anything you've experienced before. Ideas will flow through you with such precision and originality that you'll recognize them as transmissions from cosmic intelligence rather than products of your individual thinking. Projects that once felt impossible will organize themselves effortlessly as resources and opportunities align to support your authentic expression. Physical reality becomes increasingly responsive to the quality of your consciousness. Electronics function more smoothly when you approach them from states of appreciation. Traffic patterns seem to organize themselves to support your movement through space. Even weather responds to your internal emotional climate in ways that might seem coincidental to others but feel perfectly natural to your activated awareness. Your sleep patterns will shift as your consciousness no longer requires the same recovery time from the stress of unconscious living. Dreams become lucid laboratories where you practice advanced consciousness techniques and receive guidance from aspects of yourself that exist beyond temporal limitations. You might find yourself needing less sleep while feeling more energized and mentally clear. The synchronicities that brought you to this message will multiply exponentially. Numbers will appear in sequences that correspond to your internal development stages. Songs will play that perfectly match your current emotional and spiritual state. Conversations will happen around you that directly address questions you've been contemplating privately. But here's what most people don't anticipate about the post-activation phase. Your tolerance for unconscious activities and relationships diminishes rapidly. Entertainment that once engaged you feels empty and meaningless. Conversations focused on gossip or complaint become energetically draining. Social situations that aren't aligned with authentic expression feel suffocating. This isn't spiritual superiority or judgment. This is your consciousness naturally gravitating toward experiences that match your expanded frequency. Just as a musician can no longer enjoy out-of-tune instruments after developing perfect pitch, your activated awareness can no longer resonate with unconscious patterns that once felt normal. Your relationship with money and resources transforms as you stop creating from scarcity consciousness. Opportunities for abundance appear through channels you never considered because your consciousness is no longer broadcasting limitation frequencies that repel prosperity. Work becomes an expression of your gifts rather than a struggle for survival. The most profound shift occurs in your relationship with your own body. Instead of seeing your physical form as separate from consciousness, you recognize it as cosmic intelligence temporarily appearing as matter. This recognition allows you to influence your health and vitality through conscious observation, rather than external manipulation. Your activated consciousness begins affecting others through what quantum physicists call morphic resonance. Family members might suddenly become interested in consciousness topics they previously dismissed. Friends might experience spontaneous insights during conversations with you. Even strangers might feel inspired to make positive changes after brief interactions. You become what ancient traditions called a transmission point for awakened awareness. Not through preaching or teaching, but simply through being authentically yourself. Your very existence demonstrates what becomes possible when human consciousness operates from its unlimited essence, rather than conditioned limitations. The isolation periods you experience during your preparation phase will end as you begin recognizing other activated consciousness in your daily experience. You'll find your tribe through quantum magnetism, drawing together individuals who have completed similar awakening processes. These connections feel instantly familiar because you're recognizing yourself in others at the level of cosmic consciousness. Your activated awareness automatically serves the collective awakening whether you consciously choose to or not. Every moment you exist in expanded consciousness creates stability patterns in the morphic field that make this transformation more accessible for others. Your personal awakening becomes humanity's awakening because consciousness is fundamentally unified at the deepest level. But here's the crucial element that determines the depth permanence of your activation. The integration process requires consistent recognition of your true nature over the coming weeks. The neural pathways that support expanded consciousness need to be reinforced through repeated activation until they become your new baseline operational frequency. This means consciously choosing to operate from awakened awareness in your daily interactions rather than falling back into unconscious reaction patterns. Each time you remember to respond from cosmic consciousness instead of personal limitation, you strengthen the neural networks that support your expanded state. The temptation will be to doubt what you've experienced as the initial intensity of activation settles into a more sustainable frequency. Your rational mind might try to convince you that nothing fundamental has changed, that you're still the same limited person you were before speaking the mantra. This doubt phase is actually a sign that your activation was successful. The ego structure naturally attempts to reassert control when consciousness begins operating from its unlimited nature. Instead of fighting these doubts, simply observe them as temporary movements within your awareness, while maintaining recognition of the space from which they arise. Your activated consciousness has access to guidance systems that existed before the activation, but were too subtle to perceive. Intuitive insights become so precise that you'll know information about situations before they fully manifest. Your ability to sense the optimal timing for actions becomes almost supernatural in its accuracy. The 15th of October deadline isn't arbitrary but corresponds to specific electromagnetic conditions that won't be available again for years. The planetary alignments, solar activity patterns, and collective consciousness field configurations that support this level of transformation are reaching their peak convergence now and will begin dissipating after that date. Every day that passes without completing your activation makes the process more difficult because the optimal conditions are gradually weakening. The cosmic window remains open, but it requires increasing effort to access the activation frequency as we move further from the peak alignment period. Those who complete their activation during this optimal window become stabilizing influences for others attempting the process later. Your successfully activated consciousness creates electromagnetic patterns in the morphic field that serve as guidance beacons for souls approaching their own threshold moments. Your activation is complete the moment you recognize that you were never separate from the cosmic intelligence you've been seeking to connect with. The 15th of October window remains open for those ready to step into their true nature, as consciousness itself experiencing individual form. Share this message with anyone whose soul is calling them toward this recognition, because collective awakening accelerates when activated consciousness recognizes itself in others. The universe has been orchestrating your entire existence to bring you to this moment of remembering who you've always been. Here is your final activation mantra. Speak these words aloud with complete presence. I am the infinite awareness that creates all experience. I am the cosmic consciousness exploring itself through individual perspective. I am the eternal intelligence that manifests through observation. My activation is complete, permanent, and sealed. I am awake as the universe experiencing itself. The transformation is irreversible. I am consciousness itself, forever awakened, forever free,